Okay guys, can you please stop emailing me random laptops being like, oh my god, have you seen this? When, yes, we have. It is another Clevo, which is not a bad thing. Like this thing right here is one of the coolest laptops that I've seen all of CES. But before that, this CES video is brought to you by PulseWay. If you enjoy getting work done while not at work, then you need PulseWay, the software that lets you remotely monitor, manage, and control all your IT systems from just one app. Try it for free and get 20% off their Teams plan when you sign up at the link below. Clevo is an original design manufacturer, or ODM, from Taiwan that builds excellent laptops that are then sold by brands such as Maingear, Origin PC, Electronics, XMG, or just loads of other ones. Basically how it works is Clevo designs the chassis, the keyboard, motherboard, and screens, but the reseller then buys the bare bones and decides on the final things like RAM and storage, warranties, BIOS, and marketing. So let's look into the laptops then. This right here is the Clevo X170SM-G, or as the consumer might see it, the XMG Ultra 17, giving you a good idea of why Clevo needs a bit of help on the marketing side of things. The crazy thing about this is the display. Right here we have a 17-inch 4K mini LED display that has an eye-searing brightness of 1000 nits. Look at that, Turn it down so the camera can see it still. Like, looking at a white window on this is legitimately uncomfortable, but watching HDR content is unlike anything I've ever seen on a laptop before. So to understand why having mini LEDs on a laptop is so awesome, let's talk for a second about what exactly is required to make a display as bright as 1000 nits. On its own, making something bright's pretty easy. Just more power into the backlight and boom, there you go, 1000 nits. The only problem is that you'll have to also block all of that light to get darker colors, leading to areas of the screen that should be black turning into a kind of gray mess that lacks any level of contrast that you might expect from a display. To overcome this, manufacturers first used local dimming, which is where there might be several hundred or so zones of the backlight that can be independently lit, depending on just how bright, like, say, this fire needs to be compared to the tree over here. The only problem is that, while this can be good, the contrast will suffer in certain scenarios where maybe you have a bright object right beside something that's dark. You'll get kind of like haloing effects. For many LED though, there are effectively tens of thousands of little backlights there. So let's try out the hardest possible test for local dimming displays, the cursor on a black screen. So as we can see here, when I move it around, you're just getting a little white dot, perfect. Instead of traditionally you'd be getting huge halos like blocks all around it. Now you can kind of see like tiny haloing around it, but it's pretty damn good. Now, to be clear, mini LEDs are not going to give you the kind of contrast that you might get from an OLED display, but they will give you a much longer life with much less chance of catastrophic burn-in. The end goal is, of course, micro LED, where every individual pixel has its own LED, but in the meantime, I just want to watch movies and play games on this display all night long. But of course, searing out your eyeballs was not enough for Clevo. They also want to blow out your eardrums. With a 201.4% increase in speaker area and 4 speakers plus 2 subs, this has to be the loudest laptop I have ever experienced. Come on, there we go, look. That is crazy. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell you anything about the specs of the Ultra 17, but given how big it is, wow, and really heavy too, I think it's pretty safe to assume that it'll be powerful as all heck when it's available around May. Fortunately though, I can tell you guys about the Untitled XMG. I guess they need a proper name for it too. Naming things is pretty hard. But if this absolutely massive sticker here didn't tip you off though, inside here we have a full-blown desktop class Ryzen 3 GPU. Given there is just a standard AM4 socket, you can chuck any Ryzen CPU in here that doesn't have above 65 watts of TDP, so anything up to a Ryzen 7 3700X is fair game. Also in the future, any AM4 CPUs should be relatively straightforward to just chuck in here and go. As for graphics in here, you'll get up to a GTX 1660 Ti Max P, although they potentially will be equipping it with more powerful GPUs in the future, depending on demand. And finally, we have the all-new Clevo L140CU, or the Schenker VF14, which is kind of like an LG Gram, which is not a bad thing. Coming in at a lucky 888 grams, this laptop, well, it isn't the one that you should buy, because they have another one here that instead of a 36 watt-hour battery goes all the way up to 73. And with that combined with their new low-powered display, you should be able to get a stupid 16 hours of battery life while doing things like office tasks. In my hands, the overall build quality is pretty good, although with a price tag of around $1,000 for a decently spec'd version, I would like to run it through a couple tests before I wholeheartedly recommend it when it's available in February. What I can definitely recommend though is watching Linus recommend PulseWay.
I can't believe this. I went and didn't book a flight to CES because I had a bunch of server maintenance to do. I forgot about PulseWay. PulseWay is the app that allows you to remotely monitor and manage your servers and systems, whether they're Windows, Linux, or Mac. Its remote desktop functionality gives you access to all kinds of critical information like your system's real-time status, system resources, logged-in users, network performance, and more. And you guys can try it out for free. You'll even get 20% off their Teams subscription at the link in the video description. So don't wait.
So thanks for watching, guys. Get subscribed for a bunch more CES content. See ya.